simple game. Is he serious?
Always.
It's much worse than you think.
We're being ambushed. Abort, that's an order.
They knew we were coming. Do you read me? This whole operation was a decoy. I can understand you're very upset. You've never seen me very upset.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Mediev.
Damn, Jack starts typing away like Mediev is an easy name to spell or something. I don't care if you're in the CIA, that first I is gonna trip your ass up.
This is me typing this word. Yeah, it wasn't that hard. It's a you problem.
I'm gonna go ahead and knock off 5 sins because Brian De Palma shows how you can tell a story visually without having to cut to a new shot every second. He uses the anamorphic format beautifully in this movie, and if you pay attention, you're rewarded.
Wow, a sin removal that fast? I'll admit that's impressive. However, you used the phrase, pay attention, but I'm about to point out a few instances of you not doing that in this video. Just watch.
Spoiler credits.
Yeah, but these clips are all out of context and are giving the audience a few ideas on what you're about to see. Wait, isn't that just a teaser trailer?
This airplane uses Hi-8 tape decks for its entertainment system, and the CIA uses Hi-8 tapes to send top-secret messages to its teams. Honestly, even with the technology in 1996, this seems pretty cumbersome, and a lot of things could go wrong. But I guess this is the only way the movie could tell us what's at stake and who the characters are. But for Mr. Phelps, wouldn't a secure call be enough?
They're on a plane right now. I don't think using a phone would be wise, and considering this tape came from an IMF agent, I'm positive they make sure to keep it safe at all times.
But this half is useless without its mate, which matches the code names with their true names. It is this half which Golitsyn plans to steal from the embassy.
We find out later that the CIA is putting a decoy knock list in the embassy. But why doesn't anyone on the IMF team question why a super-sensitive spy list is sitting on a f***ing desktop in a Prague embassy?
It's possible they did question it, but it doesn't matter to them since they have to focus on completing the mission.
Your mission, Jim, should you choose to accept it.
And if you choose not to accept it, since this is a one-way recording, I'll have no way of knowing. So I guess, me. Also, super top-secret spy agency leaves its mission's go status up to the whims of random field commanders.
Literally no one has chosen to not accept the mission. It's safe to say they assumed Jim would say yes.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
How does a tape know when to self-destruct? It's all analog. So when it reaches the end of the tape, does a mini cauldron of acid tip over and eat the tape inside?
Yeah, that's probably what happened. What's the sin?
Keep in mind, also, you wouldn't be able to do this shit just a couple years later on flights under 6 hours, and on no flight at all 4 years later. So how did they figure out the non-smoking self-destruct mechanism when the laws changed?
This movie came out in 1996 when you could still smoke on a plane. This isn't a real sin in the movie because it's not something the filmmakers anticipated.
Netscape. And also, video on the internet that is this smooth during the age of Netscape.
This laugh.
Why are all 3 of these camera feeds zooming in at once?
Jim is probably doing it.
We find out later these two are part of the other team watching Ethan's team in Prague, but they're terrible at their job. I mean, what kind of training did you get to be a spy in the CIA?
The only reason we know that these are spies is because Ethan noticed them. He's incredibly smart, and it's not something regular people would have noticed. I mean, think about it. The first time you saw this movie, did you think these people were spies?
Tell me, Senator, do you not have someone on your staff named Jack?
They give Jack shit for not having Sarah's credentials uploaded yet, but honestly, why didn't they simply send him in earlier to do all this? I mean, I guess we could argue that Jim, who we find out is the bad guy, is probably behind that, but no one, not even Ethan, brings up the fact that Jack's work could have been done beforehand and this wouldn't be a problem.
So some of the things I say against CinemaSins here come from Cinema Wins video on this movie. Just want to give him credit. Anyway, Jack needed the cover of a party to do the hacking so no one would pay attention, and since they have a short time frame, he had to do it inside the elevator shaft.
Sorry, sir.
Sorry, sir? Wasn't it Sarah's identification that wasn't going through?
Ethan is playing a senator here, and Sarah is playing Eliason, who is giving the senator a tour. Ethan is meant to be a person to be respected here, so both Sarah and this guard are doing that.
Why are any of the party guests, dignitaries or otherwise, allowed to access the super secret computer room?
Because they don't expect Ethan, who they think is a senator, to steal something from their computer.
Gruesome death, but why didn't Jack at least try evading these things or lying flat on his back? Seems like it would have spared him the death and the eye stabbing.
That doesn't matter though. We later find out that Jim was controlling the elevator, so even if he did try and evade them, Jim would move the elevator higher, killing him anyway.
Obvious guy shooting himself is obvious, but the movie will base its entire story on the unobviousness of it. Since we know Phelps is faking his death here, how did he get his arm at that angle to point the gun at his head? Go ahead, try it at home. I dare say it's impossible?
Are you suggesting you knew that Jim didn't die here? I highly doubt that. And it's impossible. Did you not see the flashback that we see later on? Here it is in case you don't remember.
Sarah, abort.
Just a minute ago you were all, I can't follow orders because the knock list is out in the open. Now Jim dies and you're like, well damn, maybe he was right after all.
Yeah, Ethan believes someone murdered Jim and doesn't know at this point that Jim killed Jack. With 2 agents dead, he wants to protect the rest of the team.
Sarah saw this dude she was following totally get stabbed, but somehow still stuck close enough to the fence to ensure that she too would get stabbed.
Another case of you not remembering when this moment is flashback to later on. In that scene, we see Sarah really get close to the fence when Krieger killed her.
This asshole left his knife stuck in Sarah so that Ethan could figure out who it is later. I mean, he was like, take that, and I'll leave it inside your body because I think of people as knife racks.
Krieger most likely noticed Ethan was coming and quickly ran away, forgetting about the knife. That's what happens when people are under stress. They don't think clearly.
This is Ethan Hunt. They're dead.
Even though Kittredge should probably know that Ethan means his team, they could mean any number of people above one.
Again, this is the same guy who earlier implied that he was paying attention, but he clearly isn't in this particular scene. In the full scene, Kittredge asks Ethan who he's talking about, and Ethan clarifies.
This is Ethan Hunt. They're dead.
Wait, who's dead?
My team! My team is dead! Jesus. Galitzin's gone. They knew we were coming, man. They knew we were coming, and the disc is gone.
This is an amazing fine dining establishment to be open this late in what appears to be a deserted Prague right now. How does this place stay in business?
There's a bunch of IMF agents inside. It's fairly obvious they opened the place to fool Ethan.
Why was there another team?
You know, who are so obvious in their jobs that they actually define the opposite of their jobs?
This is padding the sin count, since you already mentioned this in a previous sin.
The actual list is secure at Langley.
And you might be right to question why it would be anywhere else. Maybe you couldn't figure out why you were on this mission, but you definitely should have known something was up.
What? You say that Ethan has the right to question why the list wasn't in Prague, but then go on to say that Ethan should have known this mission was a mole hunt? How are these two things even connected?
So someone sold his team out and they're all dead. His bosses think he's a mole, and he just learned there was a second IMF team shadowing them the entire mission. Yet Ethan still thinks it's a smart idea to return to the safe house? Jason Bourne is laughing at your carelessness, Ethan Hunt.
He isn't careless, though, because you cut out the scene where Ethan took a light bulb, broke it, and spread the glass on the floor, which would let him know if there's anyone outside of the room.
No one but Ethan Hunt could figure out that Job 314 actually meant Job 314. Ladies and gentlemen, your CIA.
How would they have figured that out? The only reason Ethan did was because there just happened to be a Bible in front of him. Not to mention the word Job isn't very common, so I can believe this being kept a secret.
Max at Job 314? Oh my god.
This laugh.
This message 2 line explodes my brain. It basically means Ethan was able to steal the most coveted username in the entire Book of Job discussion board on this very night. Either that or Book of Job has like 0 users. I concede it's possible.
Admits that it's possible, sends it anyway.
You wish to meet Max? The price of admission.
So they go through all this trouble to make sure Ethan can't see anything, but no trouble whatsoever to figure out if he's being tailed by another person.
Who's to say they didn't? Since they immediately cut to Ethan meeting Max, it probably happened off-screen.
The one you have is not only worthless, it's certain to be equipped with a homing device to pinpoint your exact location.
And only works when you stick it in a computer, but not until then, for some reason.
I don't see how this is a sin.
Were these guys just driving around Prague until someone popped in the disc? They got here in record time for people who just figured out the disc was even being used. Hell, I couldn't even get the van started in the time these guys showed up.
Ethan literally says in this scene that they have about 2 minutes before they arrive, and the IMF are trying to look for him, whom they still think is in Prague.
Inside the Black Vault, there are 3 systems operating.
A thing that checks for sound, another that checks weight, and another that checks temperature. But even with all that, absolutely no cameras of any kind, which is peculiar. You wouldn't have to point cameras at the computer, just in blind spots like this.
Even if there are cameras in this place, Luther Stickle is right there. You know, the hacker. He can turn them all off if he wanted to.
If the CIA is investing all this time and money to make sure temperature, weight, and sound trip the alarms, wouldn't they do everything in their power to make sure no one could come through the air conditioning shaft, which is the only way into the vault at that point?
You are literally showing on screen that there are lasers right here, so they did take the precaution. They just couldn't have anticipated this device.
What sector is the air conditioning? 21, but there's no alarm in sector 21.
So let me get this straight. If a fire actually happened at CIA headquarters, they wouldn't let the firefighters go to the section with air conditioning just because it's not on fire? And if they didn't, why wouldn't they have somebody on the job that could turn them off for them?
You're missing the part of the scene where the fire alarms didn't go off immediately, so they're just confused why these firefighters are here if there's no alarm going off.
This guy, whose coffee cup is totally within his peripheral vision, does not see getting squirted in his coffee cup.
Because he's reading a newspaper?
1, 2, 3. Toast.
Okay, great, but you are directly above an open vent, leading to the room with the sensitive security microphones. So breaking the volume limit here should be just as toast as doing it in the actual room.
The vent is currently closed. I'd say he's okay for now.
Krieger, from here on in, absolute silence.
As improbable as this is, I absolutely love this scene to death. It's so tense, so well made, and it lasts 10 minutes without the slightest bit of boredom. I might have to knock off another 5 cents for it.
Nice job for actually acknowledging greatness. This truly is one of the most iconic scenes in the whole franchise.
Also, he clearly uses a keycard to access this mainframe, but Ethan does not have that keycard.
That's probably because Donlo was throwing up and didn't bother turning off the computer before leaving, giving Ethan the opportunity to use it.
Now, here's something strange. Donlo is typing his username and password into the computer, which they absolutely need to happen so they can use it themselves after he leaves the room. But this doesn't appear to be part of the plan, because Ethan was ready to go all the way down to the computer before Donlo walked in. Plus, how did they know if Donlo would even be well enough to make it to the mainframe before he got violently ill?
You're right. It wasn't a part of the plan. When Ethan logs into the computer, he has the username already, and Luther tells him what the password is. Knowing Luther, he most likely got both of them with his hacking.
Sure, that's better than your password, but I'm pretty sure it's a sin that the CIA has all this sensitive undercover agent information behind a login with a password that is a mere 6 digits.
So, you're gonna ignore the scene that literally shows Luther giving Ethan the password, debunking that previous sin? Okay.
The appearance and timing of this vent shaft rat in a pristine CIA facility has me convinced that the rat is actually a double agent.
I mean, it's still better than the endgame rat.
Red scrolling encrypted text accidentally inspires The Matrix. Not the movie, the actual Matrix.
Arbitrary movie reference.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would have caused enough decibels to land you all in Leavenworth.
Sending this iconic shot.
The CIA agent is back at the outer door, but unlike last time, Luther isn't warning Ethan.
That's probably because he was too distracted by Ethan not tripping the alarms.
What? How is that possible? Remember, this is how he's positioned just before catching that sweat drop. Did he dislocate his arm?
Oh, I'm sorry, that actually wasn't that hard.
You're telling me he let go of the rope, killed the rat with his bare hands, then grabbed the rope again and stopped its slide, and Ethan only fell 2 feet in that time?
Messy.
Why does he even have this knife out right now? Was he cutting up apples? I bet he was cutting up apples, that asshole.
I can't believe these two sins are back to back. Krieger killed the mouse with the knife, obviously.
Ethan takes out 2 discs, puts one in his mouth, then puts the second back in his vest. Why pull both out if he only needed one? Why even bring 2?
Oh, you mean this?
Well, now 2 discs make sense, but still not during the mission.
Another example of you sending something twice.
Do you actually think I'd let you have the knock list?
Ethan proves he can do magic tricks, so Krieger simply believes him when he says he doesn't have the real knock list. Problem is, why would you ever believe that Ethan not only performed magic while being pulled out of the vault, but gave you a dummy disc for whatever stupid reason?
Krieger didn't think he performed magic in the vault. He thought he did when Ethan tricked him into taking the wrong disc. Plus, we all thought Ethan really did give him the fake disc in this scene until he revealed that he didn't. Stop pretending that you can predict plot points.
Why, oh why, did Jim take a Bible out of the Drake Hotel? And it just happens to be the very hotel he was staying at just before this mission. But mainly I'm upset he took the Bible out, because as Max said, he doesn't quote scripture in his messages. So why did he need to take the Bible?
Just because he didn't quote it doesn't mean he's above a little underhand sardonicism, using a reference from Job about kings lying in ruin to jab at the intelligence community he'd be exposing.
Krieger did have the knock list?
What?
See? You admit you fell for Ethan's trick, so why did you include that previous sin?
Also, now we have to send Ethan for being dumb enough to take 2 discs on the mission, but not have any ultimate use for the second disc, and for trusting Krieger with the real disc.
He literally didn't trust him though, which is why he pulled the trick on him. Don't you already know this? What are you even saying here?
By the way, how Ethan imagines Jim's fake death is also impossible, because there's no camera that could have captured the gun at this angle with the way Jim's face is pointed.
Wait, doesn't this disprove that earlier sin where you tried to say that Jim pointing a gun at himself is impossible? Shouldn't you have gone back to rewrite that sin?
I mean, the movie is giving us the opportunity, so let us reiterate. Highly trained Sarah actually ran up to the gate like this with absolutely no idea what she was doing.
Refer to the previous sin.
Okay, random green jumpsuit guy, run through now. Great, perfect. Got it on the first take.
Pointing things out on the screen.
This was not what we discussed.
You're on a train and Ethan is changing the plan without messaging you first. Why do you still trust this guy again? Because he told you the knock list was tainted that one time?
Right after this, Ethan tells her that the disc is right under her seat. Why wouldn't she check there and then double check that it's the right disc?
Awesome. But where the hell did he find a mask-making machine? They were all disavowed and have been on the run with minimal equipment. Claire slept on the f***ing floor last night at the safe house. But sure, mask machine.
This is Ethan freaking Hunt we're talking about here. You don't think he could have stolen one off screen?
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, Ethan.
Reciting scripture to prove a point while neglecting other parts of it in your own life in order to shame people. This seems appropriate when considering some of the backlash after the Supreme Court's decision on gay marriage.
He's a villain, and he's just taunting him.
Jim decides to kill his wife first because he knows Tom Cruise has at least 4 more of these movies to make and needs to survive this first one. I know Jim is also a highly trained agent, but kicking Ethan Hunt's ass? Huh? Also, you're not going to kill him? Why not?
These two sins are saying the same thing. Though, to answer your question, Jim's gun only has 2 rounds. He fires one at Claire and meant to shoot the other one at Ethan, but he messed up his aim. Plus, Jim has a helicopter to catch, so he's in a hurry.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and question the ability of a helicopter to fly without crashing into and inside of a train tunnel this tiny and at this speed. And by question, I mean sin.
This is something that was set up earlier in the movie.
If we're going to Virginia, why don't we drop by Fort Knox? I can fly a helicopter right in through the lobby and set it down inside the vault. And it would be a hell of a lot easier than breaking into the goddamn CIA.
Is this guy's thirst for revenge so special that he would attempt killing Ethan with helicopter blades while he flies inside the tunnel? Anyway, lucky for Ethan, it is, and now we'll just watch him jump on the helicopter without questioning it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what revenge implies. Not thinking clearly.
There are no consequences when you stick bomb gum on a helicopter flying through a tunnel while attached to a train. Hell, Ethan doesn't even get burned being that close to an explosion. And let's not forget the extremely lucky landing he gets here. Not forceful enough to knock him out, but enough to get him back on the train.
Ethan literally used gum to blow up this helicopter. If you accepted that, why couldn't you accept this?
Would you consider the cinema of the Caribbean? Aruba, perhaps?
This is why you don't surprise your agents with top-secret self-destructing tapes on a flight. Ethan doesn't even smoke, so how's he going to cover that shit up? Plus, he's not in the back of the plane or anything, so any child can look over his shoulder and see top-secret shit.
He can just put headphones on so no one would even hear this message. Even if a kid did see it without listening, they wouldn't understand it. This might take the cake for the dumbest sin in the video.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
If I let you know where I'm going, I won't be on holiday.